What is one reason to stop consuming pornography? You accidentally recall porn star names instead of actors in front of people. As someone with two-step families, I'm happy I grew up before the incest porn became a thing amongst friends groups. You become insensitive to the hanky-panky you do with your boyfriend-girlfriend. Only fantasies can get you off no matter how much you try with your partner. I had these issues with my GF. She would give me blowjobs. Intercourse would last 30 minutes or longer because I become tired even though I haven't finished. There were times I would fake it because she becomes upset when she can't please me. But I know it wasn't her fault. I just stopped watching porn even when the urges came. My hanky-panky life improved drastically. Real hanky-panky is better, or so I'm told. My friend said her partner just choked her without asking if she liked that. Imagine having hanky-panky with someone much larger and stronger than you. You're at your most vulnerable and then they try to strangle you. She thought he was trying to kill her and understandably freaked the frick out. I then heard this same type of story from multiple other women. Apparently, it's a thing in porn these days. That and very aggressive sex. Which again, if you don't know it's coming, suddenly feels very much like the person hates you and is trying to, and will most likely, hurt you. I imagine it doesn't make for a calm and confident return to hanky-panky for these women. It has no nutritional value. It's really hard to verify the upload consent for amateur content. Like Pornhub, for example, has huge controversies over homemade uploads not having the consent of one or both participants, usually lacking female consent. Also, age verification for some sites is not rigid enough. Actual porn actors don't make as much money as they used to, and certainly not as much as you think. The lines of consent being pressured into a scene can be pretty blurred. Porn can have a damaging impact on your views toward sex, your appearance, the gender you're attracted to, how hanky-panky works, consent and performance length. Porn can promote a more violent version of hanky-panky. This can be particularly damaging to the sexual maturity of younger people, who are either not old enough or are barely old enough to view the content. Porn addiction is very real and made worse by how crazy accessible it is. Porn is also a monopoly, with one company owning a bunch of the major player websites. Desensitization if you consume too much. So much porn that is available on the internet is created with quite questionable consent, lack of protections for the workers, and overall lack of integrity. I think avoiding porn just to not support potential trafficking or abuse is reason enough. You've seen it all. Literature is way better. You should try it. There are so many reasons, man. I am a porn addict, and let me tell you that it has ruined my life in so many ways. It sets up unrealistic ideas about sex. So if you one day will have hanky-panky IRL, it just won't be the same because you have filled your brain with this unrealistic idea about what hanky-panky is and the thing that they do in sex. Not all are into that. Have heard many stories where guy thinks girls like to be spit on, for example. I mean, some may, but not many at all. Porn makes you objectify people. Mostly women. They become objects for your pleasure. Not real humans with emotions. It can easily lead to you treating women like that IRL. Porn can lead to ED. You can get turned on by real life partners because you have gotten so used to men in porn. It has sadly happened with me. Staying away from porn helps me, but it sadly has affected me a lot. Porn contributes to human trafficking, and that just makes our world worse. There is so much more I could write. I am addicted. I know not everyone gets addicted, but being addicted to porn is hell. Every day feels like a uphill battle trying to overcome this addiction. I had a college professor in my freshman year tell every guy in the class that watching porn leads to ED. He then proceeded to call us bitches if we watched porn. It gives you so much dopamine to both watch it and nut to it that your brain stops putting effort in meeting new people and it drains energy. There's no real way of knowing whether or not the actors and actresses were coerced or forced into it for a majority of videos. Unrealistic expectations. You become so addicted to it that it negatively affects your daily life and your relationships with people. Human trafficking. There's even allegations of physical and sexual abuse plus the underage contents. Didn't stop Facebook, however. I'm surprised how much I like self-control. It's been a few months for me now. Very freeing. A lot of the actors are coerced into performing. They are given booze and drugs so they can perform. The women are paid more than the men. But many of them spend what they make on drugs and booze and are forced to perform even though they don't want to. There are a lot of girls who get sick. Especially the ones who shoot scenes where the male actor penetrates her anally and then vaginally. In short, I find the industry despicable and I refuse to support their exploitation of young women and men. I think a good point is when you find yourself looking at some extreme porn and pretty much watching porn daily. As most things it's alright in moderate terms, but when it becomes excessive is when it becomes a problem. That an awful lot of it is not made by consenting adults if you must watch it. At least try to source ethical porn. It's not for nothing Pornhub has, belatedly, taken down so many videos. A lot of misery is hidden behind sections of the porn industry. I can instantly tell if a male partner of mine has an unhealthy relationship with porn. Each of them were really poor in bed. Even if they were trying really hard to listen to me as I communicated. I've had one or two male partners who watched porn on occasion in very healthy amounts and were good in bed. But for the ones with regular, unhealthy porn use, I believe it would be a really long and uphill battle to get back to a neutral state in regards to sex. Let alone a positive one. After all the conditioning they put themselves through. Because it discourages imagination. Because a lot of it, like anal hanky-panky and deep throating, looks really painful to the woman, and I doubt the monetary compensation can make up for that. When I see a girl with tears running down her face, it really breaks my heart. I think it's a pretty damaging thing. Porn is no longer looking at boobs in a magazines. It's up close and incredibly disturbing to most people. But young men are becoming desensitized to it. Many people I know that are self-described feminists claim it's a great thing for feminism and freedom of expression. etc, etc. The reality is it's hurtful towards men and women. It's bad for our society. It harms relationships. We have to make it much more regulated than it is currently. 13-year-old boys should not have access to clothes of up to 10-inch PP plowing 6 women. You're gonna have unrealistic big PP expectations of yourself. You don't know if it's consensual. Even with professional porn. Professional porn is notorious for having an actress sign a contract for specific hanky-panky acts and then springing different ones on her mid-scene. At the end they have the exit interviews where the woman will say she consented to everything. But if she doesn't do it, she's blackballed from the industry and probably won't get paid. Amateur porn is even worse because you have no idea if the person is of age. If they consented to. If they know they are being filmed. Even if all those boxes are ticked, did they know the film would be used publicly, or were they under the impression it was a private film made with their so? The men I've dated who had a problem with porn stand out. The dynamics shift and it's sad for both of us. They couldn't sexually engage with me without porn involved. They had no imagination. They had limited interest in my pleasure. They fixate on this ideal type of woman, which is young and usually thin or petite, which yes, is somewhat natural. But it always seemed taken too far. They were more likely to make sexual demands that served them without regard to me. They looked at women in public as hanky-panky objects and nothing more. They were also a bit lazy overall and smoked so much weed. I'm sure there are some overlapping conflicts there. Overall it was really sad and dehumanizing. I def don't mind porn, but I do wish it wasn't so important to so many dudes. Also, I've heard that men who give up porn find a wider range of women attractive, which would give me a better shot. Porn watching is time consuming. And if want to get your life together, that's also need time. You have to choose between these two. That's why I stopped watching it. It completely ruins your idea of what hanky-panky is like. Or even how the opposite hanky-panky acts. It also can be incredibly harmful your hanky-panky life. And you're probably unknowingly supporting some pretty terrible people. I think porn can give people unhealthy ideas about sex. Like if you're a woman and you're seeing women in porn always being submissive, minus maybe a femdom niche. It can lead you to think you're biologically wired to be submissive regardless of your personality. Your self-respect takes a blow and you're more susceptible to internalizing misogynistic beliefs. During lockdown, I came to realize that it was an addiction. I was using it to cope with stress. And it kind of snowballed. I was like a crack addict. Sneaking off every couple of hours for a line. I'm 37. I always figured that when I was a grown up I wouldn't need to masturbate anymore. And wouldn't be so reliant on porn. Yet here I was. With no sign of my habit waning. I felt like the porn was controlling my hanky-panky drive. And that I wasn't anymore. I quit porn and masturbation about 3 weeks ago. I've masturbated 3 times in that time. As opposed to at least once a day. And without porn. It was more an intense need to nut. Like I had to empty myself. It's an improvement at least. And was surprised at how much harder it was to get hard. And to come. Masturbating every day had made me oversensitive. And I hadn't even realized it. To reset your expectations of sex. It's a movie, not real life. You desensitize yourself to normal sex. I don't say to kink shame. But it's not likely that you will find a partner into geriatric grandmas spanking twink boys with a German army helmet orgy. And once you go down that road, missionary with your significant other probably seems too tame. You can't know if the people in the video are actually consenting. It's fake and unrealistic. Literally nothing good about it in my opinion. Too many people are addicted. Knowledge of the porn industry and the damage it does. To gain a taste for the type of women who might actually frick you. It gives fake expectations of men PP size. Women's attitude and character and overall sexual relationships. The industry is filled with issues. From consent. To underage stars. To mistreatment. To contract iniquity. Go support your local cam girls. But stop using produced porn. There are way too many videos where you can tell the women are straight up in pain. That's someone's daughter. The whole girls do porn scandal. There's a non-zero chance that the actresses in whatever video you're watching were either forced into doing the shoot or lied to about what the shoot would entail. Porn sites are also filled with revenge porn. I guess it's a personal choice. But for me, the reason I decided that porn isn't worth it is cause it definitely warped my view of sex, love, and relationships. It clouded everything with lust. And for me it was very addictive. There are many things I could point out. But physically, mentally, and spiritually I feel like porn is bad for me. But with all that said, I'll admit, as if porn were a drug. Sometimes I relapse. But afterwards I never feel any better, and sometimes I actually feel significantly worse. So much of it is non-consensual and the industry contributes highly to hanky-panky trafficking. Just be seer on a well-known site doesn't mean it's safe porn. To improve your hanky-panky life, I had a problem where I needed porn to climax. Finally breaking that habit properly. You are looking at someone else's child. How would you feel if that was your child? Also, Hell, your imagination is better and in 4K. ED. Swallowing all those magazines isn't doing anything good for your health. Not supporting an industry that's responsible for most of the human trafficking, substance abuse and pedophilia in the world. Just like how substance abuse addictions often lead to escalating needs to get your fix, it's the same with porn addiction. It's common for people to start finding it harder and harder to get off, requiring them to get into more and more extreme stuff and making it harder to get what they're looking for. That can be really unhealthy and really dangerous. They also actively support this tendency by making lots of content focused on cheating, incest, non-consent, jailbait, etc. I've also heard, and I think this is something with addiction in general, that it erodes your willpower. Putting aside the topic of addiction, the industry itself is pretty messed up and shouldn't be supported.
Hi there. Look, if you enjoyed the video, well, why not go ahead and hit that like and subscribe to Reddit Stories. In fact, if you want to see even more responses to this thread, well then, take a look. There's the link in the description below. And remember, show some love to those authors while you're there. And I look forward to seeing you next time.